indulgence. Yay. You were good? Fantastic. We are live on YouTube and Facebook and live here in Chicago at Print 18 in McCormick Place. Yeehaw, people. Yay,
Yeehaw.
Print. Yeehaw. Welcome so much to another panel here in the Printiverse. And we are talking about Spot On, making an impression with specialty ink. Specialty ink is a very topical subject. It's a way for people to, dare I say, simply differentiate themselves through an ink application, which is kind of cool. So let's start off by, we'll ask, and by the way, if you guys can pull out the microphones when for talking, and just make sure that we're talking to the people at home on the camera. I'm going to refer to you by your company name because that's how people will remember you. So, Ricoh, why don't you say a little bit about who you are and what you do, and most importantly, how does your company help print businesses grow?
Hello, I'm Denise Finney. I'm with Ricoh, and I am a production marketing manager. Been in the business for a number of years, helping customers grow their businesses. And to answer your question, Deb, we have a lot of capabilities when you mention the spot and differentiating, dare you say, differentiate themselves. And to tie into your theme, going beyond CMYK and looking to see what the other specialty toners can do to grow their business with really distinct applications.
Thank you so much. Konica Minolta.
Hi guys, my name is Kevin Abergel. I'm with Konica Minolta.
I'm sorry, isn't that Abergel?
It's Abergel, actually, if you really want to go right.
Yes, Abergel.
And I represent Konica Minolta and MGI. And it's really been a great partnership. And what we bring to the market is something that is not just the commodity print, because today it's very difficult for our customers to compete on commodity. They're just really competing on price. And as Deb said, it's really about differentiation. So whether we're talking about doing inkjet, spot UV, embossed tactile, digital foil, things that are being done now without the need for traditional dyes and foils, we're really trying to get our customers to compete on margin and not just on volume. So that's really what we do. And when it comes to spot, we got, this market, guys. This panel is going to be fantastic for one simple reason is I really do think, and this is my personal belief, the next big breakthroughs in our industry is not going to be necessarily in the hardware or in the software. It's going to be in the inks, guys. Inks are going to be able to do phenomenal things, whether it's going to be talking to cell phones or talking to each other or lighting up a room. Inks have the potential to give our industry a whole new life. So I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Thank you so much. Xeikon, so happy to have you in the Alliance this year. I have the privilege of speaking at the Xeikon Cafe and hanging out with, I call them my Xeikonies. You are now one as well. Welcome to the panel. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and most important, how does Xeikon help print businesses grow?
Thank you. My name is Greg Ross. I'm the regional sales representative for Xeikon in Canada, and we bring to market the dry toner, and we do specialty toners, FDA compliant toners, security toners as well, and we help you grow your business through that way and being the only dry toner out there.
Thank you. HP, welcome. Thanks.
Sorry for being a little late.
It's okay, dude. Pull out, if you don't mind, you guys can pull out the microphone and pass it to each other.
Okay.
It's better for the sound guy.
Perfect.
And for all of us.
Hi, everybody. Tim Steffel. I'm the commercial category manager for the commercial presses on the Indigo platform. And basically, from our standpoint, a lot of what has been said about the inks is absolutely true. What we find is that we're trying to get the inks more into the offset mentality. So where digital for the longest time has all been about CMYK, maybe a couple little specialty inks like some whites or some colored inks or things like that. What we at HP like to do is make sure that we're doing all of the applications like you see in the standard offset market. So that's security inks, invisible activation inks, that's scratch off inks, that's silver applications for things like foil and other kinds of applications like that. You've got all the fluorescence and spots and day glow and glow in the dark, etc. And of course, always working on a lot of other things like the conductive inks and smelly inks and all the other kind of stuff that you would want to do in a standard offset environment. So a lot to be determined, and I actually brought my good friend Sigal over here to help out with some of those questions if you have some after the discussion.
Thank you so much. So I've also brought somebody with me here today. Everybody in the front row there, that's Jamie the printer. Raise your hand, Jamie the printer. And Jamie works at Allegra Princeton, and what is your official title? Creative solutions provider. He's basically a print salesperson, but he's not. He's beyond that. He's a MacGyver. He's one of those printer MacGyvers. And a creative print strategist. And Jamie's job is to sit here and listen to you guys and be the checks and balances, but also he had these topics before, and he has been collecting questions from the printers and from the print shop and from the operators and from the people who actually have to touch all of your stuff. So I have also gathered questions from the print chatters out in the world. So we're really here to help you guys understand what the people out there really care about, which, by the way, is not always what you want to talk to them about. With that being said, one of the first questions I got from Four Lakes Label in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, which I guess is around here. They wanted to know, is paper a consideration with specialty inks? I thought somebody was answering the question back there. Ricoh, let's start with you.
Yes, when it comes to substrates and paper, it is a consideration, especially when you look at the fifth toner that we have. When you're looking at putting clear on something, you do want to look to see what kind of paper you have. The UV definitely it shows better based on what kind of substrate. And of course, when you're printing metallics and when using white, you do want paper is critical. We used to say it was like the fifth, color, but really when you look at the specialty colors and you can print on anything and any color, you do want to make sure you have the good substrate and a good paper because it shows better.
And as far as Ricoh, your services or your support, can you help printers make those paper choices based on inks?
Most definitely. We do have a site, we call it Business Booster. We have all kinds of videos and we have how-tos, and we have a lot of sample kits where we show exactly what paper stock and how it was printed. So we want to make sure that we're there so they get the best results, and we're there to support and to help in every way we can, including calibrating to the stocks and all the things that you need to do.
Thanks so much. Kevin, your thing's a little different. You can take the microphone. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit first about what MGI and your technology does, and then how dependent upon paper choices it is?
So I would say that's definitely a good question, but it depends. And, as in the industry, there's so many different variables when it comes down to the actual application that you're doing. There's some applications, for example, in our case, when we're doing the embossed foil, embossed varnish, we like to have a nice coated substrate, because if we don't have a coated substrate, it's almost like putting water on a sponge, right? So your varnish gets absorbed in. When on the ink side, that's a good thing, but on the varnish side, you really want it to stand up. So the same thing with conductivity. If you're trying to do a conductive type of print where you're trying to print chipless RFID, you're going to need those ink molecules to really be connected to be able to do those things. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. I think that's the same thing. That's a very open question that.
Well, I mean, it's an open question, but I think the printers are kind of, with all due respect, tired of open answers. They just want to understand how, if they want to use your technology, Kevin, is it only on a coated sheet? I mean, can you make like definitive statements that at least give them
for our
a
technology,
wheelhouse?
okay, so for the finishing side, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the
so
finish,
there's
you
one
have to
thing
have
that we've clarified, right?
So what a lot of our customers are doing, which is really nice, is that there's great companies out there who develop primers, so you can have an uncoated look and feel. Because if your customer's buying that sheet, he's buying it for a reason, because it looks warm, it feels warm to the touch. They're spending money because there's that emotion that goes into that paper when they touch it.
Yeah.
And if you say, well, it has to be coated, well, that might turn a lot of people off. So we've been working with some great companies, some paper companies as well, some priming companies, where they've been able to develop primers that actually stop the varnish or stop anything from getting absorbed into the paper, but still give you that uncoated look and feel that people are really paying a premium for. So
Right.
there's ways around everything. So
Yeah,
printers
there's
are
ways around-
scientists, right?
I know there are ways around everything,
Yeah.
but there are also just practicalities.
Yeah.
I know if I want to use, as a print customer, if I want to use a shiny, cool foil effect,
Mm-hmm.
and all I have to do is change my paper to make that work, I'm going to change my paper.
Of course.
Somebody just needs to tell me.
Of course.
Only start with these
Right.
100 swatch books possibilities.
Correct.
I mean, we're not talking about there's only 2 substrates in the world that are going to work with your technology.
Right.
So that's kind of what I mean by
Right.
it. You know, the Printerverse is all about streamlining information. What you know, so if nothing else, everybody took away something very important. Start with here with MGI. Xeikon. Same
Yes,
question.
well, let's face it, with ink, you need a substrate to carry that ink to get out to the customers. So the substrate's very important. And we work with some of the world leaders who manufacture substrates, and we partner with them to qualify their products on our presses, whether they're coated or uncoated. And that is
HB.
goes a long way, I think, with our customers and prospects.
Thank you so much. HP, something tells me you have a system in place for this.
Well, like I said about the offset side of things, if you go back in time, and I was from the Indigo family since 1994, it was one of the first digital presses in the marketplace. And when we put the paper in front of people, they said, you know, what can you offer? We said, well, these 8 substrates. And when you were talking about digital, and for the longest time, you had to have a specific media listing that you could use, and that's all you could use because that's all that worked with toner. The idea for us is that we wanted to make it more like offset. You want this paper, you use this paper. So we do have treatment that we can use on the paper, and it makes it more offset-like in nature. It is a liquid ink. It doesn't require fusing. So from our world and the way that we look at things, we look at it very much like an offset company does. We were the first to be G7 certified. There was a digital version of the G7 certification, which meant everybody that used toner, everybody that used inkjet, everybody that used even the liquid electrophotographic ink, LEP, that we use, they were under a certain different than offset certification, not exactly the same stipulations. So a lot of the vendors were there. Everybody on the panel, others that are not here as well. And it was because they changed the certification process. Well, we kind of didn't like that because as HP, we use a liquid ink that is translucent. It's not like toner where it's a reflective particle. The light goes through our ink to the surface of the substrate and comes back to the viewer's eye. We wanted a different certification that was more like offset. So we went back to the ID Alliance group and said, you know, put us on the offset side of things, and we have that certification very recently. The ISO, I wrote it down just so I wouldn't misquote it, ISO PAS 15339 certification. You have to have translucent inks to be able to do that. So with that process, the original question being about, you know, is the ink and the substrate part of each other? We calibrate the individual inks to the individual substrates, because we know if you put CMYK on cream and you put it on white and you put it on bright white and you put it on synthetic, you're going to get a different color rendition on every stock. So we actually have a certified spectrophotometer based calibration for each and every one. And that's kind of the way we look at it, because that's the way you would look at it with offset.
Thank you so much. Jamie the printer, I know you have a lot of questions here.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My question is, yes, paper is important. Everybody has said that. But when I'm ordering paper, do I need to say I'm ordering paper to be on a Konica, a Ricoh, an HP, Xeikon? Do I need Xeikon? Sorry. Do I need to request this certain paper has a certain coating on it already? Like Domtar is going to supply me with paper already coated. That's what I'm looking at. How do I make a quick decision and get the right
Go
paper?
ahead, Kev, you want to take it?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify when I was talking about the uncoated. That's just on the finishing, not on the printing side,
Poor
right?
Kevin.
I feel bad because the KM1 does uncoated, coated, normal. So,
Okay.
yeah. So as far as I know, no, you don't have to ask as long as it's. But you know what? It's every printer that I know of before they go to market with any type of technology that they do, they have to do their own internal recipe book. And I don't know a single printer, when they buy a machine, that's not going to go through the paces and try all the different papers that look good. So that when they go to market, they know what the prices look like and they know what the offering is going to be. So as far as I don't know, but most printers that are out there go through that anyway to make sure that their offering is up to par when they go to market.
Sorry, go ahead.
And yes, we have an extensive paper library. We test papers. If customers have papers they want to use, put them through the test. We have all these settings that you can change so everything runs fine. So when it comes to stocks, we're extremely versatile. We have a lot of experts that can make sure, this is going to run and this is how it's going to run. So there's not anything that you have to do on the front end, because we'll test it on our end, and we have, as was mentioned, we've tested many, many, many papers, especially when you have the toners, like I mentioned before, that print on now a lot of different colored stocks. And I don't know if I
Xeikon,
answered
just
your
one
question.
second. I just wanted to ask you a question, Jamie. You're asking this question, but from your side of things, from the receiving end of this information, do you think there's a clear path to this information to you? Is that why you're asking?
That's why I'm asking, and
Right,
if we're
so
making a decision
you're
on a new
doing all of
machine,
this
can we get those
stuff.
samples and see them?
Right.
Is it simple to get?
You're doing all of this stuff. You're doing all of this testing. You're making sure all this happens. And here's a printer asking you what you've been doing for years, and he does not have a clear path to this information. That's why we have the Printerverse, so you guys can hear what they're saying. So Xeikon, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was very curious why he was asking that question.
For Xeikon being in the business for just over 30 years, we celebrated 30 years last year, and we have a substrate book that we hand out to our customers, and if there's anything outside of that spec, then we will test that for them in our innovation center to see if it will work well on the press before he ties up his press time. So we have that ability to do.
HP, anything?
So that's obviously, paper is the biggest issue in the digital marketplace. And speaking for all four of the vendors on the panel, none of us wick into the sheet like Offset does. So that's the biggest challenge. So there's got to be some kind of chemistry, some kind of reason, physical property, whatever, to make that, whatever it's ink or toner or whatever the product is, stick to the surface of the sheet. So there's a lot of things that goes into all of these testings. We're over 3,000 to 4,000 sheets, depending on the series of press you're talking about. But at the end of the day, we all have some kind of recommended media list that you can get to. And it just comes down to tape tests and all the fancy things that you do. I think most of the vendors on the panel would say, put the substrate through your press, see what happens. No warranties are going to be voided, nothing's going to be changed. I'll speak for myself and the HP family. We have an ink that we can print called primer, electro ink primer, and you print it under the surface of the ink layer that's going to go down. So that material would help that adhesion to the surface of the substrate. But we also have plenty of customers out there that treat for themselves. It's literally just a flood coat material that goes on the surface of the stock. That would be standard offset or whatever that may not work chemistry-wise with the ink. But at the end of the day, I would say about 75% of the sheets that our customers use today have no digital nature to them at all. So,
Tim, I have a follow-up question for you. I've only heard you HP refer to that priming unit for inkjet. Are you saying that's also for indigo?
yes, ma'am. There's a new ink, and Sigal can speak to it because she developed it, or her team developed it. It's called Electro Ink Primer. It will not make a non-working sheet into a working sheet, but what it will do is a sheet that's kind of on the edge or the fringe that doesn't really work well, maybe you get picking or pinholes or things like that, it will solve that issue and keep the ink on the surface of the substrate.
Thanks so much. There is, a lot of people out there are not in the position where they are buying 15 presses at a time. They might buy a piece of equipment that also means that they're mortgaging their business or getting a second loan, and that equipment decision could be life-changing for them. With that, it's important that they understand the vision of the companies that they want to invest in. They're making an investment in their future with you. With that being said, when it comes to research and development, what is on the top of your specialty ink to-do list and why? Let's start with Xeikon. Let's give the Canadians a chance, everybody. They're nice.
Well, at Xeikon, for one, our FDA compliant for indirect and direct food contact continues to change as the requirements that goes closer to the food that companies require, and obviously governments require that that be good for people that don't ingest something that has VOCs and what have you. And we continue to rise to those qualifications and change.
Okay. Go ahead, HP.
I'm actually going to do something, and I'm going to, on the cuff, just call Sigal up
Oh,
and
you're
ask
gonna
her to
tag
answer this.
team? Go ahead,
well,
tag team.
she's from the R&D department.
That's fine.
So
You can come up and you can go, Tim. Thank you. Tim, everybody.
We'll sit together.
Oh, see how HP is.
So, yeah,
Sorry, Tim.
we're investing a lot in specialty inks. Actually, we have a big team that focuses in this. So we are going to the direction of several directions. Functional inks, like fade-resistant inks, the electric primer that Tim just mentioned, inks that not necessarily when you see it, you understand what it is, but it has some function. So we have a lot.
I
of
saw
invested.
at Label Expo you had a printed electronic ink. I don't remember her name, but you pushed the blue circle and it made a noise.
Right, so security inks, which we have a variety now. Some are available already, some in development, like Invisible Yellow and Blue, which already released for the 6000. We are going to release it for the 7000 series. So this is one part, is the functional inks. The other part is inks that show, so fluorescent inks, the silver, the new silver, which actually gets you to all metal colors, etc., etc. So this is a big chunk. We believe in R&D and development, and some good surprises to come next.
Oh, well, you're supposed to spill all of your surprises now. You're supposed to tell everybody what you're investing in the
Come
future.
over to see.
That's
No, what
true.
yeah. But we are going to release some inks which are released already for the labels. We are going to release it for the commercial presses, like I mentioned, the silver, invisibles, premium white is going to be released, which is really significant for productivity-wise. Scratch-off solutions, ink that helps to
Scratch
create
off,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, scratch off. Actually, it's a release ink that
Oh.
helps you release whatever is up there.
Cool.
So you print it, and the black and the white and whatever.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Kevin, you doing any research and development over there at Konica and MGI?
We're
Just
doing
a little?
some crazy things.
Just a little?
We're
yeah?
doing some crazy things. So obviously we on the embellishment side, I think as Xeikon said, the big move is on the low migration UV varnish to be able to do food, because as digital packaging really starts growing, that's a great market. It's really growing. We're going in that direction, but to kind of go on what HP was saying, we're also doing a lot of R&D and been doing it for a while on the printed electronics side. So we acquired a company that was really one of the leaders in 3D printed electronics. And so they're digitally printing like heart sensors and 3D printed electronics. It's
Like in your booth over there?
like it's not here, but yeah, it's part of our company now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's cool.
And in conjunction with that R&D department from that company called Ceradrop that we bought, the big thing we're looking to do is how to make printed electronics really something that's part of the production process. So imagine a box that you're printing 5-6 colors and embellishing, and all of a sudden that one box has an ink on it that can actually talk to a door or to a truck where there's no chip because you're doing digitally printed chipless RFID. So the applications are really huge in that part of the world. We also did one where printing OLED photovoltaic materials. We were able to print like a piece of paper this thick that is actually a light bulb.
What?
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Printing is one thing today, but
Printing is freaking cool.
printing is nuts. Printing is going to get even more exciting
Right.
because soon it's going to be doing lots of things other than just looking cool. It's going to be functional. It's going to have a purpose, and I'm really excited to see where this thing goes.
Thank you, Kevin. Rico.
Yes, I would say everything that people said, that's very interesting. And we do bring print to life with our application where you click on something and then you can go anywhere you want. It's like the landing page. As far as R&D, When it comes to what we're doing on our continuous feed side and our sheet fed, we're continuing to ask you, the audience here, what do you want? What do you want as far as the other toners? And I know that we started with a few and we keep on adding, and I know we're going to add more. I can't say right now which one, but hang on tight. It is very exciting.
I believe Jamie, the printer, has a follow-up question.
Okay. It was mentioned briefly. Metallic inks. My pressman asked me when are metallic inks going to be ready to go for either toner or HP type inks. We have 3 different presses, so we have multiple different ones. So when is that coming down the pike? I saw it last year to show. Is that going to be ready soon? I know we can do whites and clears and stuff like that, but metallic seems to be really big right now.
Hello. There we go. So from the HP side, we're announcing at the show and showing it on our 7900, the 877 silver. So it's a Pantone silver. But then when you overlay it with the CMYK or other colors, you can actually turn it into the metallic effects of all the different colors. So at the end of the day, it's just an ink to us, just a station in the press. But then as you put the CMYK or even spot color components on top of it, again, because of the translucence, you get that metallic effect. I can't let you keep this one because it is Seagal's, but I can let you take a look at it.
Just to you good?
Mm-hmm.
Just to wrap this up, we'll stay with you, HP, and we'll come down the line. As far as specialty inks go, if the people here in this booth went to your booth, what can they see and who can they talk to and what can they learn about, and what are the kind of questions you want them to be asking you?
So as a lot of the shows have been, it's basically toner, indigo ink, and inkjet are the 3 basic processes. We'd like to think, and no disrespect to anybody else, inkjet or toner based, HP makes both of those products, but they bought the indigo family specifically for the pigments and the capabilities that they could do with those inks and what we could expand it to. RFID and the conductive inks and the fluorescent inks and all that. We have samples of just about everything that we make, including the scratch-off inks. We have a fluorescent room. You can actually go in and see how it glows in the dark, things like that. So, I mean, we know that at the end of the day, the products, the printers, the presses themselves are literally just carriers of the capabilities for the applications that we're talking about. So, yeah, so it just comes down to the inks that you want to print. So.
I know you're the Israelis are excited. What a
Actually,
shock.
First time that silver ink for the 7X 7900 is running live on the press. So if you go over the wall, you can see it running live.
Thank you very much. Xeikon, what can people see and learn about specialty inks in your booth, and who can they talk to, and what can they find out?
They can talk to all the wonderful people at the Xeikon booth, and we can show you samples over there, and we can also talk about inks that we are, toners that we are developing, such as metallic, etc. So come on down. We're at booth
It's on your table tent.
1136A. Thank you.
I remember them all now. Kevin, there must be some fantastic stuff going on right back there.
We do. Have you seen some of the peacock stuff that we've been doing?
Peacock, yes,
Yeah,
I did.
I figured
saw
you'd
it.
dig that.
I
Yeah,
did. I
so
loved it. You did it for me, right?
we did. So if you come to the Konica Minolta booth, at least on the MGI side, we have 2 technologies that we really want to show off. So we have our toner-based technology, which actually is printing and using real foil. It's the real thing. So if you want to use an actual hologram foil and overprint it, or if you want to use a metallic blue foil in it, we can use any kind of really hot foils that are out there, and we're overprinting it in register with toner. So it really gives your print really that pop effect without having to go out and buy like $1 a sheet type of, those things are really expensive, the metallic boards. And then on the inkjet side, we have the embellishment presses. So we're actually putting down varnish or clear UV ink, and we could play up to 200 microns, so it could really build up a nice pile. And then we're using, again, real live holographic gold, silver, cast and cure type real foils that, whether it's crown, whether it's curds, anybody's foil really works on that press. So we have the cold foil look where the toner is on top of the foil, kind of like that swatch put. We also have the hot foil look being done with the inkjet where the foil is on top of the ink to give you that embossed foil look. So we have both.
Thanks so much, and thanks for joining us on the panel. Ricoh.
Well, I would like everyone to come to booth 3011. We have some Red Hot Technology Awards, and one of them is on our sheet fed with our 5th toner station. What we'll be printing is our invisible red, and if you bring this, you can see what the secret message is at our booth with our invisible red. We do have a lot of samples. We have the samples with all the other toners that we offer on that 5th station, including the white and the clear and the neon yellow and the neon pink. And excitingly, with some of our samples, we're going to show you how you can hit some colors that are very difficult and get a neon palette by blending the neon pink with yellow. And so brought some samples here, but I invite you to come to our booth 3011 and see it printing live and see what the secret message is with our invisible red.
And if you're on social media, Ricoh has started 5th Station Friday, where you're sharing really cool examples of the way that people are using your specialty inks. I want to thank everybody so much for joining this panel. This is not the first panel your companies will be on, but this was a really great one. There are Printerverse programs here where you can get information about all the panelists, their booths, their social media, their websites. If you're here, please go visit them, say hello, mingle after the panel, and if you're at home, thank you for spending this time, and go click on their websites. Thank you so much, everybody.